I do believe what we're seeing in Costilla County, like in other places in the world, I do believe that we are seeing spiritual warfare. And we do need to look at the big picture. And we do need to look at where this anger and hatred is coming from. When we look at some of the people in San Luis, the false allegations, the hatred, the open racism, when we look at those things, when we look at the patterns, we can almost see a hive mind to some of the characters that are the most active at insulting new residents and accusing them of being criminals, making wild allegations that it's a white supremacist organization, that people, if they happen to be white and they're fleeing other areas for whatever reason, that they are exercising some sort of mentality of white supremacy. This is asinine. And so when you're dealing with spiritual warfare, you're dealing with people that will lie about you, that have no conscience. People that don't really believe in what goes around comes around. We can see how we are being insulted to the degree in which they obviously want a reaction. Or we could see how the police department, Under Sheriff Andrew Espinoza, tries to frighten people that aren't actually there causing a disturbance. Andrew, I know that you probably watched at least a few videos to see what happened. You weren't there officially, unless you were watching on CCTV. You weren't there at the last event. You showed up at the end and told everybody to get lost. Did you or did you not see cordial debate? Did you or did you not see people insulting us? And one man calling me a coward for bowing out of a tense discussion. Did you or did you not see that, sir? Seems to me like you want to act like you're calm and collected, but you will come out and be the first to squash free speech and act like this is the medieval age. And we are looking at law enforcement, a continuation of law enforcement, the same family, Espinoza. You know, I've thought only positive things about the name Pete Espinoza from reading the Chris O'Brien books years ago. To find out after the fact that this is a former sheriff of Costilla County that we're calling new residents scumbags. I mean, we're talking about evil incarnate. I see sickness in Pete Espinoza. I see a delusional man that thinks we're the enemy. Generations of issues that he has had with other residents. You're going to blame that on me? Devin from EJ Foods, I believe, .blogspot.com, doing a profile hit piece on myself for supporting this off-the-grid movement that he is alleging is a white supremacist movement. And then we find out that people have actually been killed out here years ago in the 60s and 70s. They were ran out of here by the people of San Luis. Some of them straight up were shot. All that was happening in a day and age before YouTube and before cameras as they are so easily accessible today, digital cameras. So that's why cameras are important. Even if someone doesn't necessarily have a YouTube channel or anything like that, documenting things is important. We are dealing with a advanced level of spiritual warfare because you're dealing with nearly a dozen within a community. So not everyone in San Luis is participating in this. There are many quiet observers, and there are people that have left San Luis that are horrified to see what their former townsfolk are involved in. But there are a number of people that are acting as if they are all connected to a collective consciousness of hatred. And this seems to be about racism and classism on the surface level. In reality, you could see the same behavior from white people, black people, Middle Eastern people, Asian. I believe that every group on the planet, unfortunately, most men and women are into hive mind, collective mass consciousness. What I mean by that is they think the same, they don't think for themselves, they confuse their real identity with their race. I think that's one of the biggest prisons you can ever live in. And as I've said before, one of the reasons I came to Costilla County is to get away from so many people caught up in race, only to walk into one of the most extreme forms of racism that I've ever experienced in my life. What I'm seeing from the people of San Luis and the writings of Devin, and these vicious attacks on people that they don't see as being anything like them. It's as if they see themselves as royalty, and it's almost as if they see everybody else as subhuman. And they do see those other than white and Spanish as being of the lowest. That would be black people. That would be Middle Eastern people. They see them as the lowest of the low of the low. You can't go any lower. They hate them more than whites, but they won't admit it. They even hate their own people, especially Mexicans, which I was rudely taught an amazing education in how much hatred there is towards Mexicans coming from the Spanish, the European Spanish bloodline population within San Luis. I've never seen it anywhere in the United States. And yet, something angelic, something spiritual is happening here and is drawing people here. I have had conversations with people here in the San Luis Valley. Some of us have talked about future events, what really could be going down within our own country, the U.S. military, with all the aggressive moves taking place that are really dangerous now. How will this affect us later on? I see Colorado as a safe place, parts of it. I've always seen this as a place to live an actual self-sufficient life without constant worrying about a massive refugee influx. I don't really see us really as refugees. I feel like we're really being drawn here to build a new life for ourselves. Just like the ancestors came here long ago, the ancestors of those in San Luis, they came here. But they came here with a little bit of assistance from a government, the Spanish government. We've come here without that kind of assistance. We're on our own. We have come with less, in some cases, than those that came before us. So why hate? Why hate because we're not Spanish? Why hate? Why hold that hate in your heart? Don't people realize that that kind of hate leads to sickness and illness? Mental illness, spiritual sickness, physical sickness. And do the people involved in the hating look all that healthy? And what are their own personal lives like? As far as Pete Espinoza goes, is there something going on in Pete's life that is causing him great misery, be it a health issue or another issue with family, or maybe family that moved away, or maybe relationship? Am I, a person that's never met Pete before, never stepped on his property, never seen him before, only spoke highly of him based on things I read in the book? Pete Espinoza investigating the Taylor Ranch being a suspect in the cattle mutilation wave. I've passed on this knowledge through word of mouth, through what Chris wrote based on interviews with Pete Espinoza. And I've interviewed Chris O'Brien. Did Pete Espinoza take the time to realize that I'm not a bastard, that I actually have respect for this land? No, because I'm not Spanish. So there's a psychosis going on, not just with the people of San Luis, but the people of the world. I'm looking at things I've never seen before, levels of racism I'm seeing come out of people that I've never seen before. I left Portland to get away from all the racial tension, only to come to a place that I thought was one of the most peaceful and freest in all America, at least it was, only to walk into something that feels like the 1960s, only to be a part of what feels like a civil rights movement. I'm not going to sit at the back of the bus. I'm going to sit at the front of the bus. We're going to sit at the front of the bus. We're not going to sit at the back of the bus. I can't believe this is happening, but it is. And thank God we haven't been lynched yet. But I mean, this is spiritual warfare. When someone is hated because of the lack of income or because of the color of their skin. To deal with that, we have to keep a strong spirit. Ask ourselves, what does that mean? Why did we really come here? Why are they screaming at us? Why did we come here? Who does that? Who screams at an individual How do you live? How do you eat? Let us in your house. I mean, this is like the 1600s. You know, well, what is this, Nazi Germany? Do we have to have like a little like armband? The psychology of the people of San Luis is medieval. They're getting medieval on our ass. And if the law wasn't there to stop some of them, they would be trying to hunt some of us down to kill us. John has already had his life threatened. The former sheriff, a former lawman with other family members, currently in uniform with other Espinosas. Was it a Robert Espinosa, that federal raid in 1989, who was busted for poaching? There was a massive poaching investigation. The federal government came in 1989, around the time of March. So why is Devin and others quoting the federal government, saying, well, the federal government says these are domestic sovereign groups and they might be a threat. So let's use government propaganda to smear these people and hopefully influence people to direct violence at them. Thanks, Devin. What about the federal government came in 1989 and came in through San Luis? They didn't tell Pete Espinosa because the government of Costilla County, the sheriff's department of Costilla County, were suspects on a level in that poaching investigation. So they came in like the Russian military. Or as one person put it, shit, I didn't know if the Russians were invading or the aliens. And so it sounds like some wild shit went down in 1989. So all of a sudden, though, the federal government is your friend, though, if they write reports saying that people that are declaring their own sovereignty and freedom are a threat. The truth is, this is spiritual warfare as I close. Because the people that live out here now and the people of San Luis could work together. And if they work together, their lives could be freer. Devin with his YouTube series on food sovereignty. Most of the people out here are into permaculture. I mean, why aren't they working with Devin? Why won't Devin even talk to these people about growing food? Because they don't own water rights, because they're poor. So he's acting like he claims about the struggles. But unfortunately, I myself have kind of overlooked the racism from the Hispanic population. I've never had to face it like this before. I've actually been one of those that have tried to turn away from all the heightened, oh, and they're doing this, and this group's doing this. I've just tried to focus on the news. I've actually never lived anywhere where I've been a target of it myself because I'm not Spanish. I've never been accused of being an aider and abetter of a white supremacist front. I've never been accused of these things before. I've always just felt uncomfortable being not fully white in a very racist society that is very paranoid about Middle Eastern men. That's all I've known until now. Now I'm hated because I'm not Spanish. Like, this has been an education in spiritual warfare. How do we respond to the spiritual warfare? Do we let it destroy us? Do we let the threats frighten us out of this area? Can we identify the cyclical invasions where native peoples, not of a certain bloodline, but people that want to live off the grid with the earth, which has been a tradition here in the San Luis Valley. All we are, and we represent different bloodlines, is that ancient spirit that has come to this part of Colorado, I think for a reason, because we've been drawn here. There are events coming to this earth. And I'm not going to expend great deals of energy in this video discussing those events. There's a time and a place for that. But we have, I'm convinced we have been guided, brought here, led here by Spirit. And now we're facing an opposition, a spirit that wants to push us out, hurt us, hurt our feelings. Like the blacks were called niggers in the South. Get out of here, nigger. They're doing that same thing to us while accusing us of invading them. The only reason we're in town is for a meeting. But we live miles from town. We get our water from Alamos and we go weekly for our groceries. Everything is disposed of garbage, human waste, in the proper place. But this is medieval. They have gotten medieval on our ass. We are guilty until proven innocent. And it's almost as if they want to torture us with their words, as if this is some Spanish Inquisition to make us confess that, yes, we are evil. Yes, you are right. Let us let you beat us and whip us and rape us. Let us be your serfs of the prairie. Oh, divine masters that have the right to rule. They need to be called on their bullshit, because if they're not being called on their bullshit, it's just going to get worse. And what we don't want is to see anybody get hurt. I'm Alex answering, sharing some of my perspectives on the spiritual warfare taking place. It is October 16th, 2015. I'll be back with more.